Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome for the very first time. Let me just start out by saying happy November. October was amazing, but also crazy busy, so I'm glad that it's finally November and things have calmed down a little bit. And if you follow me on Twitch, you'll know that I spent the month of October working at the Halloween store. You know the one. I'm just going to refer to it as the Halloween store. I know you guys know the one I'm talking about. I just ask that you please don't say it in the comments. We all know you know it, okay? But like, I'm not trying to get in trouble or anything like that. So we're just calling it the Halloween store, and we're just gonna leave it as the Halloween store, okay? Cause yeah, I don't know the rules about talking about like stores or anything or brands, and I'd like to not find that out the hard way. But yeah, everyone on Twitch was saying that they would love a video with kind of stories from when I worked there, what it was like working there, and then I'm also going to do a haul of everything that I bought with my employee discount, because we did get an employee discount while we worked there, and I took advantage of that, maybe a little bit too much. Yeah, let's get started. So I only worked for the Halloween store for about a month total, and because of that, we did not get any training whatsoever. No one there did. My first day, they kind of just threw me out onto the floor. They didn't tell us any of the store policies, any of the store rules, you know, what we were supposed to be doing. We had to learn that on the go. So, you know, my very first day there, my very first 10 minutes even, customers were asking me questions about like our return policy, whether or not they could open packages, stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, I've been here 10 minutes, you know? So I have never had a work experience quite like that. I've never had one where, you know, they haven't showing me around a little bit, showing me where things are, you know, just general things, not even, you know, where costumes are or anything, but like particular costumes, but just, you know, I don't think I ever found the bathroom while I worked there. I heard that there was one, I never saw it. So things like that, where it was a little bit strange. I've never quite had that before. Usually there's at least someone to be like, hey, you know, maybe let's let you know our policies that the customers are going to be asking or something like that. So that was a very, very strange, and in the beginning customers definitely got really frustrated with me because they would ask me questions that to them were super simple questions, and I would have to go find someone else and ask them. So not the most professional, but on the other hand, the Halloween store, I mean, they knew the store had been open for like a day, right? So I'm not entirely sure why they expected us to know any of that anyway. Like, they would talk to us as if we'd been working there for years. I had customers constantly asking me about last year, about like how the store was set up last year, like, oh, last year why you had this, why don't you have it this year, stuff like that, like you decorated this year, you know, you decorated one way last year, why didn't you decorate that way this year? And I was like, you think I was here last year? Like, what kind of store do you think this is? Do you think we all just like come back every year? Because like no one who I talked to except for like our manager had worked there ever before. Like even like some of our assistant managers and stuff, like it was all their first year too. So I thought that was kind of funny that people just like expected us to like have been working there or have gotten any kind of training whatsoever. That being said, luckily for the customers, I am quite knowledgeable about costumes and putting costumes together last minute, so I actually could help quite a few of them right off the bat. But yeah, it would have been nice to have some kind of training. And speaking of not being trained, I did actually accidentally kind of complain to our district managers about that. Not on purpose, but basically what happened, and I guess this is kind of my first story, is that my first, I think it was maybe my second or third day there. It was my first day opening, which means, you know, I got there early before customers got there to help the managers open. And our manager informed us that a man would be coming to pick up all of our cardboard boxes that basically we had been getting, you know, shipments of costumes in. We had like, basically like a warehouse full of just cardboard boxes in the back, and someone would be coming to pick them up and take them away. We didn't know who it was. We just kind of had a note that that was happening. And so this guy shows up to pick up the boxes, and he is wearing a shirt that says like Trump 2020, make liberals cry, and not wearing a mask. And I like, if you know me, you know I'm like hella liberal. I'm like, no, I don't want to be helping this guy, especially because he's not wearing a mask. You know, like, it's one thing to have that t-shirt, but to not be wearing a mask was really, for me, like, I was pretty mad because our district managers and some of the other people, like some of the other higher ups from, you know, the district came, and they were all being really nice to him, and they were being like, oh my god, thank you so much for taking our boxes, which, by the way, I learned he made money off them, so he would bring them to a recycling place and they would pay him for them. So he was taking our boxes for free and then, you know, going and selling them, and that was his job, basically. That's what he did as a career. So they were being really nice to him as if he was doing us a favor, when I'm like, no, this is his job, he's making money, this is not him doing us a favor. But the fact that they never once told him to wear a mask really made me mad, because, you know, for me, I was trying to stay far away from him. I would drop the boxes off, like, you know, about maybe probably farther than 6 feet away from him outside his truck, and leave, because I didn't want to be anywhere near him. You know, I knew that he was definitely not the kind of person to be COVID conscious. And I had another coworker with me too, and he kept having her, you know, come bring the boxes closer or help him, you know, with the truck. And that just made me so uncomfortable that the managers really just didn't say anything. And that kind of set the precedent for how they felt about, you know, basically their employees and about COVID in general, because that's one thing I have to say, the biggest thing that irked me about working there. And I just want to say I did really like working there, because a lot of my coworkers were amazing and they made it fun. But yeah, this store was not even a little bit COVID safe, like not even a little bit. We had one spray bottle of disinfectant for the entire store. One, like, you know, little like squirt bottle and like a roll of paper towels. That's it. That's all we had. We did not sanitize anything, except once in a while we sanitized the registers. We were expected to do that, you know, basically when we started on a register, but sometimes we couldn't just because of the situation, or because the spray bottle just disappeared into who knows where, because we only had one for the whole store. Besides that, you know, we had customers coming in, touching absolutely everything. We didn't, as I said, clean anything. All the packages, you know, people would open them. You weren't allowed to open packages, and we didn't have fitting rooms this year to, I guess, comply with like COVID regulations. But because we didn't have fitting rooms, we had a return policy, so customers could potentially, you know, buy something, go outside, try it on, and bring it right back to us, which is exactly what they were doing, as if, you know, and then they'd say that they did that as if they were so clever, and we're like, we know you're doing that, we're not stupid. We even encouraged people to do it because we just couldn't, you know, let them try things on in this store. But despite that, I mean, the, like, people would try on the masks, like those full, like, scary masks that we have. People were constantly putting them on, and I was just like, I would tell them, I would walk up to them and be like, you know that there's a pandemic, right? I'd always say it like that too, like, just as if they were stupid, because they are. Like, why would you try on a mask? Like, I'm sorry, that's just, in a pandemic. Like, and I told them, I'm like, you know, we're not cleaning those, so there's a pandemic. And then they would always take off their face masks too to try on the masks, and I was like, okay, so that's double stupid. Like, congratulations, you're not just stupid once, you're stupid twice. And we did have people who, of course, didn't want to wear masks, who refused to wear them, who would, you know, just hold a piece of cloth in front of their face if they had to, or would just scream at our managers till they were asked to leave. But yeah, plenty of people who didn't want to wear them, plenty of people who were wearing them under their nose. I'm sorry, I'm telling you right now, if you wear a mask under your nose, you look stupid. Like, you look like an idiot. I'm sorry, but you do. Like, everyone is thinking you look like an idiot. And I'm judging you. For me personally, I'm letting you know, if you wear your mask like that, I am judging you right now. But I do think, you know, I know that the people who are at the store, who are at the Halloween store, you know, as customers, are not the people who seem to care about COVID anyway, because the Halloween store is just the most unessential place you could possibly be. The fact that they were allowed to be open in the first place is ridiculous. I don't think that should have been allowed, especially, you know, in California, where, you know, there's all these fights about, like, not opening Disneyland, but they're gonna open the Halloween store. Like, you think that's any worse? You know, and yeah, so the people who were coming there, like, they were all people, they would tell me they were having parties, they were, you know, doing trick-or-treating anyway. like, no one cared about COVID whatsoever. Because, I mean, technically Halloween wasn't even really supposed to happen this year, right? So why would they be in a Halloween store? So it's just the people who didn't care. So yeah, every single day that I went to the store, I kind of had this thought, like, well, this is how I get it. This is how I get COVID. But that's what happens when you need money, right? Is that no one cares whether or not you get sick. So I feel like I'm a little, like, all over the place, like, kind of jumbled with, like, what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing it casual. I took some notes, but more of just, like, a casual story time, I guess. I mean, but yeah, other than their complete lack of care about whether or not their employees or customers got COVID, one other thing to note was the abysmal state of the break room, not really. Basically, the Halloween store that I was working at was in what was once and so our break room was where the registers in the Kmart used to be. There was, at most times, there was no water. Once in a while they would go maybe get us water bottles, but a lot of times there just wasn't water there. And there were no chairs. So basically we would sit on the counters with all the, like, old registers, basically, if we wanted to sit down. But yeah, there was no actual chairs. There was no places to sit. Everything back. My camera battery died. Sorry about that. What was I talking about? Right, the complete lack of break room. But yeah, all, like, the counters and everything that we were sitting on were completely, like, broken, you know, with, like, sharp edges sticking out and, you know, broken wood everywhere. So it just really was unsafe. OSHA violations basically up the wazoo, like, and I guess they figure, you know, hey, it's just a month, why give our employees a chair to sit on during their break? They definitely cared a lot more about the possibility that employees might steal than we might sit down. And speaking of breaks, my manager forgot to give us them. And because of that, one day we got in and without any warning, our schedule had been completely changed. So personally for me, instead of working fewer days a week, but for longer amounts of time, which in my opinion is better because, you know, you've already kind of lost the day if you're working, you know, just a couple hours of it. Yeah, that's basically what happened is I was working every single day, but only for a couple hours, but those couple of hours were right in the middle of the day. So they'd be like, you know, 1 to 4 or something like that. Something where it was really hard to schedule with my other job, which they knew I was working. They knew I was, you know, been working a hair salon job as well. They knew I was working there. It made it almost completely impossible to schedule both jobs and then to be able to come here and do, you know, my streaming and my content creation. It made it really difficult to be able to fit that in, and I was literally just having to squeeze things in within, like, the few hours that I could. So that really sucked, and what sucked even more, again, is that they didn't tell anyone that the hours had changed. They just put up a schedule on the wall, and it said, like, new schedule at the top, and some people, like, completely missed it, you know? And a lot of people, you know, had other jobs, and, you know, it didn't work for them. For me personally, I had to go tell my brand new manager at my other job, like, hey, they changed the schedule on me. I can't work the hours that I told you I can work now, which I felt like that made me look really unprepared and unprofessional when really, you know, it was something out of my control. And that was a point in time where, you know, I told my other manager, like, I'll quit the Halloween store if you need me to, if that schedule doesn't work for you, because, you know, my hair salon job is long term and Halloween store is only a month. So, you know, I'd be happy to give up the Halloween store job, you know, for the long-term job, but that wound up not happening. I did keep working both, but that really infuriated me. And I remember there was this one time where I was writing down my schedule to send to my other manager, and our district manager came in, or she wasn't like our district manager, I don't even know what her official title was, but she was like higher up than our manager, and she came in and she said, oh, you know the schedule's going to change, right? As I was writing it down. And I turned to her and I snapped, and I was like, I'm texting my other manager right now. And then luckily my manager walked in and she said, like, don't worry, Danielle, we won't change your schedule. So that was really cool of her, because I did really like my manager. As I said, I really liked the employees, or most of the employees of the store that I worked at. They made it really fun. But yeah, the scheduling was another thing where it just proved like they just didn't care about us at all. But enough of me complaining about the conditions of the store. Let's go back to complaining about the customers, because that's always something I feel like people like to hear. The Karens of the Halloween store. Is there a male version of Karen? I don't know. Someone look into that. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the problems and a lot of the Karens stemmed from two major things. The first being that we couldn't allow people to open the packages of the costumes, and people really hated that. They just couldn't wrap it around their heads, and part of it wasn't even their fault, because part of it was the fact that there were no signs anywhere in the store telling them not to open the packages. And I couldn't figure out why we wouldn't just tape up a piece of paper that says don't open the packages. That way, if someone's like, well, I didn't know, then you could be like, there's a sign here. Because otherwise they get all defensive and they're like, well, we didn't know there wasn't a sign. I'm like, yeah, I know there wasn't a sign. I'm telling you now. But, you know, it wasn't their fault because there wasn't a sign. But people were so rude about it. A lot of them acted like I was accusing them of something, or, you know, they would give me all these excuses like, oh, well, I just wanted to make sure it fit, or, you know, I just wanted to make sure that all the pieces were here, which, you know, is reasonable, but you still can't open it. So then I would say like, yeah, no, I understand that, but you still can't open it until, you know, until you purchase it, until you have the receipt in hand. And they would just get so defensive, like, well, I was just doing it because of this. I'm like, I know. Or like some of them would be like, you just said that. And I know, you just said that we can't open it. Well, you're still standing in front of me opening it, so I'm going to repeat myself until you close the package again, you know? So that's where a lot of the Karens came from. And then the other thing that they came from was the return policy, or the exchange policy that we had. We only allowed returns until a certain date, and then exchanges until like for a couple days after, and then it was completely final sale. And we did that because as it got closer to Halloween, we didn't want, you know, people buying something, wearing it for their party, and then bringing it back. I guess, I don't actually know if that's the reason, that's just my assumption. I had one couple that I was checking out. They asked me so we could open packages for people and hold things up. So they asked me, hey, can you open the package? Can you hold up this shirt? I want to make sure it fits my husband. And it was a police officer costume. So when I opened it up to hold up the shirt, I noticed that it was missing the little badge. So clearly someone had opened it before and stolen the badge. That was another reason people weren't allowed to open the packages, is because they would just like take things and then people wouldn't notice, and then, you know, they would try and bring them back because it was missing a part and we couldn't do anything because we didn't know, you know, who was the person who took it. And they were really strict about stuff like that. They didn't really have the best like customer service when it came to that, and I have another story about that. But yeah, so I noticed that the badge was missing. You know, they said, hey, can we get a discount because the badge is missing, which usually we didn't do. But I was like, let me get a manager and ask. So I got one of my managers, who was really, really nice, like one of the nicest people. You know, was like, can they get a discount, anything? She said, no, technically we can't even sell it to you, but since it's the last size of it, if you really, really want to buy it, I'll sell it to you. Just know it's going to be final sale. There's going to be no exchanges. And earlier in the transaction, they had actually asked me for the exchange and return policy, and I'd given it to them and told them about how there was a certain, you know, until a certain day that you could return it, and it was already past that day, and then there was another certain day till you could exchange it, and we still were within that day, so they still could exchange things. But this one was supposed to be final sale because it was missing the badge, because we weren't technically supposed to sell it anymore. It was technically a damage. And they said okay, and that they wanted to buy it. So they bought it, and then they said, you know, but we can still exchange it, right? And I was like, no, we literally just told you. Oh, you know what, actually, they didn't actually ask that. What happened was that I wrote it on their receipt, because we were supposed to write final sale on the receipt. So, you know, I wrote final sale and circled it on the receipt, and they got really mad. And my guess of what happens is that they were planning on trying to exchange it anyway, and they didn't realize that I was going to write final sale, and they were probably going to try and bring it to another store or something to exchange it. So they got really, really mad. They started yelling about how, you know, that wasn't the exchange policy, how the exchange policy said they still had a couple more days, that it was written on the wall, which, you know, I had it like written on like the glass panel in front of me. and we had to get another manager to come over, and they were just yelling and yelling. I swear it went 15 minutes of them refusing to leave the store and refusing to like take their stuff and go because they couldn't accept the fact that they had just agreed that the item was going to be final sale, and then it was final sale, you know? And it was just like stuff like that where they kept saying like, but that's not the exchange policy. She told us what the exchange policy was, and I had to be like, yeah. And then my manager came over. I was standing right here listening. Like, what, you think that I'm like lying about this? And my manager kept saying, you know, it's past the, you know, the return, so it's like we can't do anything anyway. You know, and finally, eventually they left, but I swear it took 15 minutes. So that was a mess. And also, I mean, honestly, stuff like that, like, doesn't bother me. Like, it doesn't make me upset or anything, because I've worked in customer service for a really long time. I have a really thick skin about stuff like that. I mean, I've read aloud comments I get on Instagram. Things don't really faze me anymore, but it does kind of pass the time. So it was just like a little funny thing that happened, I guess. But that was the craziest of the customers that I personally got. That was the one that took the longest and the most yelling. I did have a coworker who had a customer, and this happened, well, I was first arriving that day to my shift, so I wasn't clocked in yet. I had just gotten to the break room when suddenly I heard yelling coming from the other side of the wall. So I was like, oh, I'm about to clock in, let me go secretly check out what's going on right now, because I hear yelling, something's happening. And I got out there, and this man was yelling at my manager, basically calling her every name, you know, in the book, you know, calling her the B word, you know, telling her, you know, she's the worst, all, you know, all this terrible stuff. I think, you know, he was threatening to like punch her or something. I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm like in the back, like at another computer in the back, like trying to clock in and also like trying to pay attention and see what's happening. And apparently what happened was that the guy who was ringing out the customer who was angry, you know, he couldn't break 100. We had a policy that we couldn't break $100 bills, you know, unless it was a large transaction, you know. If it was like less than $50, we weren't going to break 100. And that was just store policy. He just couldn't do it, you know, he couldn't break policy. And so the guy seemed to understand, you know, he was cool about it. According to everyone who I talked to, the guy seemed cool about it. Went to a bank, got the 100 broken, came back, purchased his items, and then made like a comment about, like, you know, how are you going to treat your customers like this? You know, how are you, you know, not going to break 100? And the cashier was just like, oh yeah, you know, it's just policy or whatever. And the guy apparently just got really angry suddenly and just started screaming. And that was one where the police were called. The police were called several times because of like shoplifters and stuff. But yeah, this one the police were called just because the guy was screaming. They got his license plate apparently. I don't know what happened from there. But that one was pretty crazy because, I mean, you could hear him screaming like throughout the store, and he was yelling to the store too. Like, yeah, at one point turned and he was yelling like, never shop here, you know, they steal your money, they don't give you change, like all this like random stuff that like didn't even happen, and just like yelling it to the general store area. It was very strange. We did have really weird customer service type things happen there, though. I think I mentioned earlier that I was going to tell another story about that, but we did have one story, and this one actually makes me kind of happy, where I was ringing out a customer, and it was a pretty, like, she bought a lot of stuff, you know, she was, I think, buying things for her grandkids, and so she was buying them costumes and stuff, and it came out to be a pretty large total, and she said, oh, I have a coupon, it's on my phone, let me look for it. There was no one behind her in line or anything, so I was like, take your time, don't worry about it. Yeah, she was like, you know, let me look for it. She was looking for a while, she couldn't find it. Eventually she said, you know what, it's fine, let's just pay for it. I was still like, you know, you sure? I like really don't mind waiting, like I have nothing else to do. But she just wanted to buy it and leave. I guess she just got tired of being in the store. So I rang her out, we did the transaction, it was fine, and she left. And she came back about 2 minutes later, like literally about 2 minutes later, came back up to me and was like, listen, I found the coupon. Is there a way I can, you know, return this and purchase it all again with the coupon? And I wasn't allowed to do returns, so I had to go get a manager to do it. And my managers happened to be speaking again with this district lady whose title I don't actually know. And the district lady said, no, we can't do that. We can't do that return and repurchase. Tell her no, basically. And I had to go back and tell this lady, like, sorry, but my manager just said no, that we couldn't, like, return it and then repurchase with the coupon. And I am so glad she stood her ground for this one. Honestly, like, props to this lady. I applaud her for what she did. She said, fine, I'm just going to return it and go to another store then. Like, and I was like, good for you. I didn't say good for you, but, like, I agreed with her. So then I had to go get a manager, again, in front of this district lady. I had to go turn them and be like, she just wants to return it all and then not repurchase it again with the 20% off. And they just had to return everything, and then she left, and they lost, like, I think it was like $200 or something because of that. And it's just like, it's such a weird policy. I don't know, like, as I said, I've worked quite a bit of retail, and even at, like, smaller stores that weren't part of big corporations, I've never had a return policy like that. I've never been able to not do that for a customer, or had a manager say no to a customer for a request like that, especially 2 minutes after they had purchased the item. It wasn't like she'd brought it all home, you know, and then brought it back or something, you know. I mean, she literally had gone to her car and come back. Like, to me, that seemed like a completely reasonable request, and I am so glad that she returned everything and went elsewhere, because, like, I'm glad she didn't take that. And I'm glad that the manager saw that, like the district lady saw that and saw that happen. So yeah, that's most of my stories. I just have one more that I really wanted to tell. This one is about an employee, not customers. As I said, I really loved most of the employees that I worked with. They were really amazing. I followed a bunch of them on Instagram. I still want to be friends with them. Like, they just made it fun and made going to work, like, pleasant, because even though the customers could be terrible, you know, they made it worthwhile and they made it fun. Except for this one employee. And apparently, well, we all knew this one employee had been slacking off a bit, hadn't really been doing his share, hadn't really been working very hard. And apparently the managers noticed that too. And they just, you know, talked to him. Apparently they just, you know, told him, like, hey, you know, can you just, you know, maybe help customers more, just, you know, take more initiative, stuff like that. And they didn't fire him, anything like that. It was almost impossible to get fired at this job. I asked at the end, I was like, did anyone get fired? Because I heard, like, you know, some people are like, what does it take to get fired here, you know, basically. And it's very, very difficult. But yeah, they didn't fire him or anything. They just said, you know, just step it up. And that made him really mad, because apparently, basically we had these, like, animatronics in the back, these, like, scary robot things, and you would step on something and they would, you know, say something scary, or, like, be like, rah, or whatever. And they were really fun. I absolutely loved having them, because they would make kids cry, which sounds terrible, but it was so funny, like, to watch these, like, little kids step on them, or, like, be in the back, like, it was so funny. Or the kids who were really brave, they were funny too. Like, the ones who would be, like, you know, just, like, staring them down, and I'm not afraid. Like, they were just fun. Like, it was, like, a fun thing to have in the store. And they all stopped working one day, and they went back there, and someone had cut them all with scissors. Someone had cut all the wires with scissors. And yeah, it was that guy who they talked to and said to step it up, and apparently he didn't like that at all, and went back there and sabotaged all the animatronics. So for the rest of the store, you know, for the rest of the time we were open, they didn't work. And, you know, people were always trying to step on them, and I just have to be like, oh yeah, none of them are working, sorry. And, like, I had to tell them, like, yeah, they were vandalized. Like, I told some of the customers that, because, yeah, this guy, like, literally, like, I can't even imagine, like, what you would be thinking to do that. I don't know, I guess he figured the job was only a month, so, you know, he didn't have to worry about, you know, whether or not he kept it, or, like, well, I don't know. I don't understand that mindset. I've never sabotaged the animatronics of a store I'm working at because I got told to step it up at work or something. I don't know. I don't get it. But, yeah, I found out later, because he wasn't fired. That's what I said, like, said a minute ago, like, it was, like, impossible to get fired at this job. Yeah, this guy didn't even get fired for that, but apparently they did take the cost of the animatronics out of his final paycheck, is what I've been told. I don't know, again, how true that is, but, you know, a lot of it's just kind of the rumor mill of what goes on. But yeah, he wasn't even fired for that. But I think that one is pretty crazy. But yeah, that's basically all my stories. Other than that, it was, you know, pretty fun. A lot of people asking for astronaut costumes. That was the big thing. What else did people ask for? A lot of people always ask me, like, what was the most popular thing this year? Astronaut costumes were asked for the most, but we didn't have any, so didn't really sell a lot. What else was the most popular? There were a lot of TV shows that were really popular. The Boys, Cobra Kai. Those were two really big popular ones. There is a story for I was trying to think. I'm like, I know there's one more story I want to tell. I couldn't remember what it was. I just remembered I wanted to say there was one day where James Charles came in. If you guys don't know who James Charles is, he is a huge famous YouTuber within the beauty community. He constantly has drama going on. He's a very controversial and occasionally problematic YouTuber. But he did come in one day along with this one girl whose name I cannot remember, but she's like the biggest TikToker or something. I can't remember her name. I actually didn't know who she was at the time. Like, I only found out who she was afterwards. But yeah, I just remember them coming in and, you know, our manager's like whispering like, James Charles is here, you know, and us kind of like spying on him but not trying to be weird, and, you know, everyone asking like, oh, you're gonna go take a picture with him, and then everyone just kind of being like, not actually caring about him. like for me, like yeah, I knew who he was. Yeah, I was kind of like, oh wow, look, this like really, really famous YouTuber, but I'm not about to go up and take a picture with him or anything. I don't know, it was kind of funny, like no one actually wanted a picture with him. I think our manager was the only person to actually take a picture with him. But yeah, I think that's the only celebrities that I remember coming in. I personally, if any other celebrities came in, like I wouldn't recognize them. Because A, everyone's wearing masks or should be wearing masks. And B, I just feel like when people are out of context, I don't recognize who they are. Like, if I'm expecting to see someone, then I'll recognize them. But if I'm not expecting to see them, like, I completely just wouldn't notice. So now I just want to kind of do like a little haul and show you what I got with my employee discount. I bought way, way, way too much stuff. Definitely dangerous working there. But I did buy some cool things, so I do want to show you. I think I already showed my Starlight costume that I bought on my Instagram. That was like the first thing I bought. Most things I waited till the very end when we could get everything on sale plus the employee discount. But that one I didn't wait for. I just bought it right away because I was really excited about it. I just need to redo parts of it because it looks like a Halloween costume, like the gauntlets and like the belt and everything. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna redo those. Need to get like gold boots and everything. But I know that there's no way I could have made that dress. Like I could have never found fabric that like matched it well enough, like matched what they use on the show well enough. So I figured if I could just have the dress as a base and then just redo everything else to make it look better, unless like it was bought at a Halloween store. So I'm really excited about that one. And let me show you what else I bought. I literally have 3 giant shopping bags. It's a lot. I'm gonna try and get through it pretty quickly, but I don't know, maybe you're interested in what I got. So this is the first thing, and I actually bought this not because I want to use this the way that it's in the picture, but because it has these little red gems in it right here, which I want for my Raven cosplay, because I don't know if I've complained about this before, but it's really, really hard to find her forehead gems in the correct color and shape and size, and I thought that these ones would work for it. So I figured if I was getting a discount, I could just kind of cut out the gems that I need and then have some extras rather than the one I have that I use over and over and over again. And I've got 2 pairs of vampire fangs. These are the Scarecrow ones. This is the brand I like. Yeah, and I bought 2 pairs because I want one for like to redo my vampire fangs because I don't like the brand that I currently have. And then I bought 2 because I want to do some that are like a bit closer to my front teeth, just so that they show up a little bit better in pictures, because I feel like when they're like the ones that are on the farther teeth, I smile like weird and I can't do like all like the cute little smiles that I want to do. So I bought 2 pairs so that I can kind of switch it up a bit. And then I bought some gloves because my entire time cosplaying Kim Possible, I've never had gloves. I don't know if anyone's ever noticed that, but Kim Possible wears gloves and I haven't had any. So bought some gloves finally so my Kim Possible cosplay can actually be complete. Next I bought this This is called, was it Winter Warrior, and it kind of reminds me of an outfit that Daenerys wears in Game of Thrones, so I thought I could either try and modify it and make it look like hers and do like a Daenerys cosplay with it, or I could just wear it to Renfest if Renfest, or Ren Fair, sorry, it's Renfest in Maryland where I'm from, Ren Fair here in California, but yeah, when that ever starts up again, I'll have something to wear that I won't have to worry about getting dirty, because if you've ever been there, you know the, fairground, like, ground is like basically dry dirt, and it gets like kicked up and you come back like covered in dirt. Like, I've coughed up the dirt before, like I've had it in my lungs and been like coughing it up. So it's good to have things that you can wear there that you don't have to worry about getting dirty. So I figured that was another option for what to do with this. Next, I bought this one, which I'm so excited for, and this is because I'm about to start playing Kingdom Hearts on my Twitch just as soon as I get that set up, which if you follow my Twitch, you know the ongoing process that's been to get my gaming system set up and all the technical difficulties that we've had. But we are going to be playing Kingdom Hearts, so I thought how much fun it would be to like dress up while we're playing. Like, I don't know, I just thought that would be so much fun. And since I had the employee discount, I figured why not. So then I got Harley Quinn's gold jumpsuit. This one was kind of an impulse purchase. I don't know if I'm ever gonna cosplay Harley Quinn, but again, I had the employee discount, and I don't know, they had these there and I kind of impulse bought it. So maybe I'll wear it, maybe I won't. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know. I thought it would be fun. So if you do want to see me do a Harley Quinn cosplay, let me know, because it'll be the gold jumpsuit one. And finally I got this white lace cape. I have no actual ideas for what I want to use this for. It was just cool. But wait, there's more. Got some My Hero Academia cups. I'm not going to drink out of these, but I thought I could put paintbrushes in them. Because I paint a lot and, do a lot of crafting. So it's nice to have something to keep your paintbrushes in. Or, water to like dip them in or something like that. Oh, this one's really cool. I got Cammie's hat. So I can do a Cammie cosplay. I just need her jumpsuit and maybe like, I think it has a belt or something that I have to make out of foam. But they had the hat, so I figured I might as well get it, and then that's a cosplay I could potentially do one day. And then just a bunch of smaller things. So I got some spirit gum, which is basically like an adhesive that you would use to put prosthetics on your face. I don't have like a plan for that right now. I just figured it's a good thing to have, if I'm getting it, for such a discount. Got a steampunk headband with like little cat ears. Again, I have no like actual plans for that, but I thought it was cute. Oh, dragon body chain, which goes with the winter, what was it called? Winter Warrior or whatever costume that I got. I think I got something else to go with that too. Where is it? Oh yeah, here. A dragon necklace. So we're going full Danny. Because my name's Danny, her name's Danny. It works, right? Oh, liquid latex, another one that I don't really have a plan for, but it's a fun thing to have around. And scab blood, which is like fake blood, but it's like a little bit more congealed. And finally just a pair of cutout tights, which honestly I'm probably gonna wear like in real life. You'll probably see them on my like non-cosplay Instagram or something before you see them on my cosplay Instagram, but I thought they were cool, so why not? Treat yourself. Yeah, that's everything that I got with my employee discount. It's a lot. I know. It was literally, it might not have looked like if it was 3 bags of stuff. Definitely spent way too much money, especially because, as I said, I was there to make money, not be spending money, but it's hard when you're a cosplayer and you can justify spending that money, because you're always like finding reasons. You're like, oh, maybe I could do this for a cosplay, like maybe I could use this, and then you wind up buying everything. But yeah, that was a bit about what it was like working for the Halloween store. Honestly, I probably would do it again next year, despite all the complaining I just did. It was quite fun. As I said, it was really, you know, my coworkers that made it amazing. My managers were awesome. I love honestly, when I was helping customers, like, that wanted to be helped, or, you know, that weren't Karens, like, that's honestly really fun, because I love costumes, I love being creative, doing stuff like that. So getting to help other people with that, like, was really fun, and I really enjoyed that. So I would do it again, honestly, next year. I don't know, obviously, what the year is going to bring. If 2020 proves anything, it's that you really can't plan ahead too much. But yeah, I would do it again, and maybe I'll do it again next year if they let me, if they don't see this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. I do read all the comments. It really means so much to me that you take the time to, you know, like the video and leave a comment. Subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to follow me on my other social medias. I've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. As I said, I'm doing Twitch now every day, which has been so much fun. So be sure to follow me all those places, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!